What's up, students? It's Devlin Cassidy, aka the Scholar, coming back at you guys today with a V Premium Scharhrot deck profile. I've been playing a little more V recently. I don't know. I think the Steam Maidens hit has definitely gotten me more excited for the format. So I just really wanted to bring you guys a Scharhrot Premium or Scharhrot V Premium deck profile. Before we get started in the video, I'd just like to give out a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, Kingslayer Cards. Please use the code SCHOLAR to save 5% off of any of your pre-orders for Set 8, the Chrono Jet Stride deck set, and Kingslayer Cards is holding an event at the last weekend of February, the 25th and 26th. 25th is an overdress event, and the 26th is a premium event with no over triggers, so I hope to see you guys at it. But without further ado, let's get into it. So of course, we just play the V starter. Like, you gotta just have to play the V starter. If you're not playing the V starter, I don't know what you're doing. So yeah, just play the V starter. Please run the legal deck. And then we play for Scharhrot. So what Scharhrot does actually is really good for this deck. It says at the beginning of your battle phase, all your front row units gets plus 1k for every card in your soul. So what this does is this pumps up your front row, and then if you are at 13 or more cards in soul on swing, he can counterblast 1. And if he's at 13, you restand 2, but if you're not, you still restand 1. So this still is able to generate a lot of pressure. You can just randomly kill people out of nowhere. It's just a really, really good Vanguard, and so I'm really happy that this card is still relevant today in meta for being so old. Then for our next grade 3, we are at 2 copies of Amon. So Amon is more so a rear guard than he is a Vanguard in this deck, just because he gets 5k for every 6 cards in my soul. But he's still good on Van. If you miss your Scharhrot, this is the card you definitely want to ride into, just because based off the fact he's able to just shove a card from hand, soul, and drop into hand, rear, and drop into soul, and then he's able to rip 2 from each opponent's respective zone. So he's really, really strong if you have to ride him as a Vanguard, but still the fact he gets big on his own as a rear guard and then gets pumped off Scharhrot just makes him a really dangerous rear guard that will restand. So if you hit a crit during your drive checks, it's just even more insane. Then I'm playing 2 Hope Undomp. This is your finisher. We really like this card just because guarding in intervals of 20, once you get in the late game, just closes out your opponent. Like, it's really hard for them to guard because then they have to start guarding with grade 2 and triggers, or 2 10ks. And so this card, even though it's a lot more insane finisher and premium in my opinion, just because you're doing a lot more, it's still good in V premium, so you definitely want to take advantage of it. And then this was a card I was debating on cutting because we got a new promo, but I decided to keep it in. This is 2 copies of Number of Terror. So what this card essentially allows us to do is it allows us to draw cards, and it gets 10k on play. So again, it's already pumping itself for the Scharhrot play, which is still really, really strong. And then when it attacks a Vanguard, you can chuck another rear into soul, and if you have 10 or more in soul, you get to draw 2 cards, which again is absolutely phenomenal, and I definitely would suggest taking full advantage of this. And then on to the grade 2s. So we actually are going to go over our new card first. This is 4 copies of Covetous Succubus. So I'm definitely going to rave about this a lot more in premium when I get to that deck profile. But this card is really, really insane. So what this card says is that if you have 6 or more cards in soul, she gets 5k shield. But if it's 10 or more, she gets 10k instead of the 5. So what she ends up becoming is a 15k shield. So she's another playset of 15k guard in your deck, which is insane and especially very helpful in the mirror match because you now have an extra way to beat out the Hope Undomps. So this is actually really, really strong. And then it actually is a way to provide a counter charge during the battle phase for your turn, which is not as big for this deck, but it's still a way to counter charge, but you still plus. So her effect is when she attacks, you if you have 6 or more cards, you chuck a rear guard into soul, same as Hope Undomp, and you counter charge 1. But if you're at 10 or more, you draw 2, choose a card from your hand, and then put it into soul. So this card's still absolutely insane, just full of value. And then for our other grade 2s, we are playing 4 copies of Demonted Executioner. So this card is on place counterblast 1, you soul charge 3, and then if 1 or more triggers were soul charged, you're able to draw a card, which is really, really helpful, really, really insane. So I'm really glad that we were able to have this for the for the deck. And then I have 4 Emblem Master. So Emblem Master is just another way to like soul charge. So what's essentially what you're going to do is probably hopefully on like your first ride up turn, you're just able to just snag the rest of the Fuginlins off your like first ride. So when you open, so you're just able like to ride over like a Werewolf Ketzer and then target the Fuginlin behind the Werewolf Ketzer and then just soul charge 3. Even though it's a lot better with like Killer Tail, I don't know. I still feel like this is much so more the wave just because of how good this is. But he also gets 5k shield and 5k power when you have 7 or more in soul. So again, any cards that get additional power just are really be able to be really abused by Scharhrot. And then I've been talking about them all profile. So we have 4 copies of Fuginlin. So what Fuginlin does is that he'll put a card from hand into soul. And he allows you to draw a card, and then your opponent does the same. So even though it fixes your opponent's hand, and you kind of have to be a lot more careful in V about this because they can just turn like really dead cards into like actual shield versus what premium kind of like does that a little bit differently. But his other thing is at the start of the battle phase, if your opponent has 6 or more cards in soul, you soul charge 1 and give a unit 5k. So this really helps begin to like pump and combo with numbers in Scharhrot, especially if you have like multiples of these out and you'll be able to resolve like 2 every turn. This is really insane because you're just able to go, okay, I give this unit 5k, this unit 5k, I'm at 13, so I'm swinging cards with like additional 5k power. It's just really, really strong, and you should definitely take full advantage of it. Then we play 4 Werewolf Ketzers. So I really like this card just because it's the Dimension Creeper clone, but it also goes to soul after you guard with it. So it doesn't feel as bad drawing it just because you're able to guard with it, it goes into soul, then the following turn you're able to just bind it and then soul charge 2. So it's still really strong. Yeah, but not really much to say. Like, or you can call it as a booster and chuck it in off the Succubus or the Number of Terror. So like this card has a lot of good value. And then I still play the 3 Succubus of Pure Love just because it's really, really important for you to ride into Scharhrot. And her 5k skill is that if a card goes into soul by a card's ability, then she gets 5k. So she's able to pump herself. So that's nice. Onto the triggers. I play 8 crit. I just still like crit pressure is insane, especially like for rear guards that restand. So like your attack pattern is of course swing, Scharhrot, restand both. So you're able to actually like generate a lot of pressure with these crits because then either they have to either no guard the Vanguard, give crit and power to like the additional rears, or you have to elect to like just kind of just skip over it. So just these crits are always going to matter just because something's always going to be restood. So it's not like the Vanguard's like being PG'd and then you died. So this is still important. Although I'm like deciding back and forth of this, I keep going between a 2-2 split of the PG and the crit sentinels or 4 PGs. I just still like the 4 PGs because A, it's a really good defensive trigger, and B, it lets you find your combo pieces to hit 13. So that's still why I'm on this, but I can definitely see in the foreseeable future if with a little more testing, and I feel that the 2 number of terror and the 4 covetous succubus give me enough consistency, I'll cut it down to a 2-2 split just to have more pressure. And then you love him, you hate him for Heal Guardian, just because, you know, we love living, because this deck is either you draw all of its pieces and you're able to sustain and actually be able to live to where you get your big combo turn to win the game, or you die. So just being able to have this, like, just not hard die against a first grade 3 turn is really important. So by far, definitely some of the most important cards for this deck. But I think that's gonna do it all for today, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate all the recent support lately. But I'm so thankful for everything coming along. I can't stress it enough. So like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you guys think of the build. Go check out Kingslayer cards, and again, use the discount code SCHOLAR to save 5% off. It really does mean a lot and will help support and help me crank out more future content for you guys. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your week. I love y'all, and until next time, take care.